Okay, Canadian flag part two. I did say I was going to do this video. So, what we've got here is we've got our maple. Bring this down, there you go. So we can see here, we've got it already in the clamps. I don't know if you can really tell. Maybe I'll bring the camera here. I've got a particular pattern drawn in pencil. That's just orientation for me. Okay, so this is how I want the boards laid up when we do the lamination, and also making sure that I do take into account a natural grain in the wood so that mitigate any kind of warping or cupping as best we can. So this wood has been in the shop for a while. It's been acclimatized to the garage or shop. If you are buying any wood, don't forget, it should probably sit in where you're working before you make it for a while. Just make sure it equalizes any moisture or anything that's in there. So we went ahead, probably seen from the last video, then we followed up and we went through and cleaned up all the edges, made sure that they're going to be tight. Now, here's the one thing through this process that I appreciate, because we're making a scorched flag. This is a cool piece, and this is the creative custom piece when you're making this. Is if you get somewhere where the lamination doesn't quite hold, that's okay, and here's why. Oh, that's where we're going to cut in, take out, and make it look like that part of the flag was scorched, ripped, torn, whatever. So while I have a template, right, this is my template that will overlay on this. It's more of a guideline, because at the end of the day, I can move anything around there, including how far in on the one edge versus how far on the other. So the idea is to give yourself that template, come up with a rough guideline of what your flag's going to look like, but let the wood direct you on where you're going to carve out, and then each piece is a little bit more unique for each person. So right now I'm making two more of these. Now this is the first one of two. So that'll mean I'll have made half dozen already. Now they take time. It's not a popular item, although I don't know why, with tomorrow being Remembrance Day. I don't expect everyone to have one of these in their house, but it's a small item. It's a decent looking item. It's something that all year round you can go, we have what we have thanks to, right? So, okay, elephant in the room. All right, safety is important, and safety glasses, safety ears, right? Whatever. I was removing a bit from my trim router. First thing, of course, remove the battery. That's goes without saying. So loosen the bit, and it was like popped it up with the wrench. Thought it was right at that point where I could just pull it out. It was stuck, and what came out instead was my finger went right along the sharp edge of the bit. I got a nice injury there, blood everywhere. Oh, I'm surprised how much you bleed from your fingers, I'll be honest. So anyways, let's move on to this. So I'm going to move the camera a bit so you guys can watch the process and see. So remember, in this process, we had this end board. We're not sure what we're going to do. We realized that through the dimensions, that in order for us to have the size of flag that we want, we needed to bring this board back, because we're going to probably trim into this. Although, I'll be honest, I'm kind of thinking that at the top of the flag, that might not be that bad, but we'll see what the wood tells us. And I know a lot of people on YouTube and woodworkers, they have, branded clamps. I'm going to be very honest. I don't have the money for that. This is more or less a hobby, although I do make things for people. So I'm fortunate, relative close, I have a Princess Auto. And these clamps, hands down, they're inexpensive overall. They work amazing. And the best part is if you have, and you may not know this, but if you have a Princess Auto and you need clamps, they back their clamps up with up to 2 years. So if something happens, you take it back with your receipt for up to 2 years. Now, I've already had to replace one of these. I don't know if you'll be able to tell. This one right here is the newest. Um, when I cranked it one day, I snapped this buckle, which is very odd. I didn't think I was the Hulk, but obviously I was. So, okay, so let's get to some gluing. Like, shut up already, right? I get it. I get it. All right, here. So I prefer a cup. A lot of people use brushes, roll on. In my opinion, use whatever you need to get it on in an even manner. So we can see here, right? Get it on in an even manner. I'll smooth it with my finger that's not band-aided, but get it on, get it on, get it on, get it covered. Let the glue start doing its job. There we go. Now, I may be putting it on a little bit thick. I don't mean to. I am more or less rushing this. But one of the concerns I have with this particular glue up is I may have some gaps between, and I want to make sure there's adequate amount of glue between the two objects. Now, what I'm going to do to help mitigate that is I'm going to glue this side and this side. So it's a little tricky. I won't argue, but see what we can do here to show you. So, get yourself a nice spreading stick. I do have paintbrushes I use once in a while. I do have a roller I use once in a while. It depends on what I'm up to. You know, not everybody has all the money to buy all the disposable items, right? You look at some of that paint roller stuff, or that, sorry, glue rolling, it's not cheap. And then, well, you gotta maintain it, wash it. And if you forget, you run out because you're thinking, man, I forgot to go to Home Depot or whatever. What are you gonna do, right? So, all right. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do the other side now, all right? So we're gonna tip this guy. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I find myself at a time limit when it comes to content. So whether I'm watching or making, I'm feeling that about 20 minutes is about all that most people will stay for. So as we go through this, I may end up cutting it short, and then we can always loop back in another video. So, all right, so there we go. There's our two pieces. That'll work. And then I'm not too worried about the next one, so I'm just going to do the one side. Go a little bit quicker. For demonstration purposes, it's. I do like this project. It's rather forgiving if you didn't put enough glue. Like I said, that can be where you decide, okay, this was a happy little accident, and we're going to turn that into that scorched mark. And if you're not sure what I mean by that, check out our Instagram. We have a couple photos there that show it. And unfortunately, I don't really have a video editing platform here. So I can't merge up the two different contents so that you guys can see it. So, all right. So we'll get that in place. And next one. And what I'll do is I'll come back and wipe down that glue. And glue is one of your tools that make sure you are using a good quality glue. I mean, know what your project is. If it's indoors only, then make sure you're using the carpenter's glue that's for indoors, or woodworking glue for indoors. If you think, man, this could become outdoors, like on a patio or something, don't eliminate that. make sure you factor in a weatherproof glue, especially something from Titebond. Great product, great product. You know, that's the golden stuff there. But that little bit of extra moisture that gets introduced back into the wood, you don't want that bond separating because you have decided, I'm going to cheap out on this dollar store brand of glue, or I'm just going to go, well, he'll never, or they'll never put it outside, and not factor in that they might have a patio that they sit on in the summertime, and you know, well, it does rain, so don't forget about that when you're doing your projects. If you guys saw the couple of the last videos, we talked about our tape measures, and I'm curious how many of you, if you comment below, went and took a look at your tape measures after seeing that video, because I had a few people tell me that they were having project problems, and I said, what do you mean a project problem? Like, you know, if you can make something, it's not a problem, right? And what it was is they were doing some stuff out in the backyard, and they had I think they said they had a Stanley tape measure. And there's nothing wrong with Stanley, it's a great product, great tape measure. I did have one for many years. Their lever lock was my go-to, and but in where they were cutting, they had some tape measure handed down to them from an uncle or something, and well, the rule was different, and I said, well, did you check? Did you compare your rule? And they were, no word of a lie, a quarter of an inch difference. So, you know, you think, well, what does that translate to? Well, if you're taking your measurement outside and you're 15 and a quarter, okay? You come in, you got a different tape measure, you mark 15 and a quarter, but it's 15 on that tape measure, you're off by a quarter of an inch. Know your rule. All right, and then the last one, this side, not that side, okay? All right, let's get that glued up. I'm gonna clamp this mofo. And I'm trying to limit the amount of profanity for you guys, because there's a lot of people on there like to swear and they can bleep it out. I might drop a few once in a while, which I may or may not apologize for. If you're watching a woodworker or, you know, trades of any kind, you might realize that kind of comes with the industry to a point. A little bit of unfiltered. Although you can still have some class, right? Just got to figure out whether it's grade 6 class or Monopoly class. All right, so there we go. So I'm going to quickly line these up, and I'll show you what that looks like. So let me drop this down here, and hopefully I don't drop my camera. So one of the things I'm doing is I want to make sure that this edge, or at least one of the edges, because the boards aren't all the same length. It's funny how that is, right? Not all wood's got the same length. All right, so, and it's already starting to tack up, which is good. That means we got a good ball. Ooh, that's tight. That's the way we like it. Nice bond. All right, so we've got this edge visually as close as possible. And what I like to do is I like to have these spacer boards, which is actually trimmed from this. And we're gonna just press these down. By the way, that hurt on that finger. And the next time I do injure myself, which can happen, I'll make sure to get it on camera for you guys. So I don't know if you can tell here. Let me see if we can zoom in here. No, it won't let me zoom. Sorry, guys. All right, so if you look, I'm going to try and do this. Okay. So I'm going to just bring that together. And if you'll notice, as we get over here, right, let's bring this one first. Well, I got a little bit of a clamp malfunction here. Nothing to do with the clamp, it's my position on it. So let's get that. There we go. All right, now let's get that. There we go. All right. You can see we're getting some squeeze out. If you can bear witness to that, get some squeeze out. And here, get some squeeze out. honestly, and I'm just doing this just tight enough. One of the things I want to make sure on is that I'm not causing this board to ripple in the middle. So we're just gonna do that. You can see we got some squeeze out there. All right. All right, so when you go through this, make sure you have enough clamps. One of the things I like to do is just double check that underneath I'm not seeing anything, and I am right here, right on the end. And what we can do there, grab ourselves another clamp, and I may have to bring this bad boy down a little bit. Put a couple pieces of wood underneath to catch the drippings. It's important to put something down to catch the drippings. You know, I don't want to be scraping all that moist glue off the workbench all the time and sanding it down. So if you're going to do glue ups, take the time and get this in here. Yeah, that looks good. That looks good. All right, we got a nice set of glue up here. So, okay. Now, what you can also do is in these areas you can apply counter force. Okay, almost like that should be a movie, Counter Force. Okay. Now, unfortunately, my clamp order has not come in, so I have to go with these really old ones. I don't even know how long I've had them. So they are not as forgiving as these clamps, but you can still get some counter force. Now, I do have one more. You guys will appreciate this, I'm sure. Somewhere that fell off. All right. So we're going to keep using that, but luckily we've got our support boards. So when I do this, I'm not going to damage. There we go. All right. Okay.